fellas, wherever you be, come sit down a while here and listen to me. The truth I will tell you without a mistake about the rackets we had round.
Hey guys, Bigfoot Outdoors here. Now that I've gotten a couple of trip reports in, I'm gonna start reviewing some of the gear that I've been using on these past few trips and talk about how it's worked. Now, the first item that I'm going to review is my Pulk, which I recently made this past month specifically for a single trip that we took in January. And since in the near future I'm not looking at very many other winter trips, this is, I made it kind of cheap, but it worked out very well for what I did. Now, for the actual sled itself, I used the Jet Sled Jr, which, let me tell you now, is an amazing sled. It tracked very well on the traverse. It slid very well. One morning when we hiked out, I believe it was a high of -17, and the bottom of the sled did not stick to any of the trail once the snow got on it. It tracked very well. Now, what I did is, as you can see, I have some, well, excuse me. I drilled some holes in the side of the sled, about every 8 inches, I believe, and I put in 6 loops of 550 paracord. And right through there I strung I believe it is a 32-inch bungee. And what I do is I lay all my gear, I pack my gear in my backpack, not a duffel, and I lay that all inside, and I stretch those loops right over the pack, and then I just tighten the bungee down. And I put my backpack's rain cover on underneath that. I put the rain cover on and then cinch down all the bungees and paracord, and that holds everything in a nice, clean, streamlined package that works pretty well. Now I'm going to talk about how I actually connected the poles to the Pulk. As you can see, at each connecting point I had 2 1/4-inch eye bolts that I threaded down into the plastic of the sled. And to keep the eye bolt from wearing down and breaking the sled, I should say, I attached 2 1/4-inch nuts and some washers right here, as you can see, and that it helped a lot. Otherwise, the lip of the eye bolt really would have just torn up that plastic as I turned the poles back and forth, and that helped really well, just holding the little clip of the eye bolt right up past off the plastic. Now, underneath the lip of the sled right here, I have the same deal. I used a regular 1/4-inch washer, but also 1/4-inch nut, I should say, and also a lock washer, and that held the nut on tight, and nothing came off during the hike as the pole wiggled the eye bolts around and knocked everything around. So that system worked out very well. In the future, I will probably move to a bracket design. That I think will be much more solid and a bit more heavy duty than what I have here. Now, the way, on the end of my poles, which I'll show you in a minute, I have turnbuckles and eye bolts. And those eye bolts connect right into this clevis pin, as you can see right here. And I like this a lot because it allows for very quick attachment and detachment of the poles of the Pulk. So when I'm loading it into the back of the truck or bringing it in the house, it makes a much more compact design, and it's much easier to move around. As you can see, it's extremely easy to just clip in, just like that. Works very well. Right here are my Pulk poles, and just like with some of the attachment material on the sled, I went a bit cheaper with this route. And I know that a lot of people use 1/4 or 1/2-inch fiberglass fence posts as the poles for their Pulk. Now, what I did on the other hand is I took 2 6-foot sections of 1/2-inch PVC, and inside of that I put 2 6-foot sections of 1/4-inch all thread. And on that all thread, let's see right here, I threaded this aluminum turnbuckle, and the eye bolt, which already came with the turnbuckle, I simply connected to this small carabiner, and that clicks right onto the shoulder strap, right where it connects down to your hip of my Mountain Hardwear day pack. And that worked very well. It did jar a little bit when you were going downhill, but I think for the most part it worked very well. Again, if I start doing this a bit more, I will upgrade to the fiberglass poles, and it'll just be a much more solid, heavy-duty system.
In the dead of the winter, 1915. I traveled up from the city to the mountains of the north and the trees of evergreen. From the shadow of the forest, on the side of the road, come a whiskered old man.